Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a regularly scheduled meeting of the Penfield Zoning Board of Appeals. Tonight's meeting is being broadcast live, but we are also complying with the governor's executive order, and that means that this meeting is being video recorded as I said, broadcast live on the town's website, penfield.org, the government access channel 1303 for anyone that might be recording it at home, and on streaming media devices Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. You can search Penfield TV in your device's app store, and you should know it's free. If you would like to address the board on any public hearing matter, there'll be a specific public participation opportunities for each application after the board responds to the applicant's presentation with its own questions and concerns. Anyone that is viewing the public hearing remotely who wishes to address the board can do so by phoning 585-340-8771 and or making an electronic submission, again, on the town's website, penfield.org. We like to point out each meeting that we think the town does a really good job of alerting people as to what the agenda is going to be, what matters are going to be heard, so that people realize that they can make comments about the applications if they choose to do so. And we find that works very well. It allows us to do our job better and with more information. The town does this in a number of ways. One is posting the agenda on the website, posting it here, having people put up the signs on the property, so when you're driving by, you can see that the property is the subject of an application. The town also sends postcards, little postcards, to people that own property and that live nearby the subject property. So again, we think it works. The way the meeting will work tonight is we'll first have a work session to tend to routine matters and then handle any table matters that we might have. After the work session is done, I don't think we're going to need a break tonight. We'll go right into the public hearings. We'll ask the applicant and any representatives to come up to the table on my right here.
Okay. I don't think it matters.
Very good. Decision one. All right, way to go. And give us name and address, and then what we'll likely have is the board, who has received very thorough applications from everybody and reviewed them all. It's likely that the board members will walk the applicant through the process. We find that works a little easier, so folks don't have to worry too much about whether they got everything in and whether they said the right things. But certainly everyone should be aware that they are entitled to fully speak about the matter and don't leave any stone unturned. With that said, I will welcome our new member. To my right, George Flansburgh. Recently appointed by the town board for a 3-year term. Is that what it is?
I don't know. I thought it was. I thought it was started as a year, but I'll take 3.
Probably fills.
Oh, okay. If you're filling somebody's term, you fill the rest of their term.
Correct.
But it's not like the Supreme Court where it's lifetime. So don't get too excited.
Unless you're Dan DeLaus.
Wow. Oh, okay. All right. Somebody write that in the minutes. But welcome. I think it's a good board. We try to, I think, make sure we're listening to applicants and other citizens that have concerns. We try to apply the rules and the regulations fairly and consistently as much as we can. But honestly, we also enjoy giving back to the town and the community by being here. So good luck. Any help you need, let us know. All these folks and the folks downstairs are outstanding. They do a really good job. They make most of us look good. With some, that's not such an easy thing to do. But in any event, with that said, and again, welcome, if I'd ask everyone to rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We do have 5 members. We have another one going to be joining us next month, but I'm not going to reveal anything tonight about that. Leave everybody in suspense.
I think the name tag may already be.
Okay, I didn't notice that. Okay, so let's get into the agenda, and we've had the minutes from the last meeting, had a chance to review them. As usual, thorough job in my mind. May I have a motion on those?
Motion to approve?
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the minutes from the prior meeting in November and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so, let's see. Why am I not seeing the agenda here? In any event, all right, so let's go to tonight's applications and see if we have any questions for clarification. Again, this is not time to debate on the applications. What we're doing is seeing if the board members have any questions of staff to clarify the application. So we'll just run through number 1. Anybody have any questions for clarification on that? No? 2? No? 3? Yeah. Number 4, any questions for clarification there? 5? And 6?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. We do have a tabled matter, but my understanding is we have a request that continue tabled?
Yes.
All right. I'll make a motion then to table for the reasons requested by applicant and the prior reasons as well.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to table. Yeah, and a second?
Matt, that's what I was looking for. Who seconded?
They both did, but whoever you want to pick. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, great. Everybody okay going right in?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to launch right into the public hearings then. Andy, if we may have the first application, please.
Sure. Total Image Solutions, 196 Theater Road, South Hill, Virginia, 23970, on behalf of Joe's Quick Marts LLC, requests approval for a conditional use under Section 250-13.3 and Section 250-5.7-C2 of the Code to allow the continued operation of an existing gasoline service station convenience store by a new operator at 1910 Empire Boulevard. The property is currently or formerly owned by Joe's Quick Marts LLC and is zoned general business. SBL number 093.02-1-21. This is application number 22Z-0001.
Anybody here on this application, either in person or are we allowing applicants to appear remotely?
We are if they request it, but we didn't get any requests
Okay.
for this evening.
So nobody here so far on number 1? What is it, 1910 Empire Boulevard?
Joe's Quick Mart?
Joe's Quick Mart. Let's go to number 2.
Teresa Fiorica, 68 Ashlyn Rise, Fairport, New York, 14450. Requests an area variance under Section 250-14.3 of the code to allow a patio with less side setback than required under Section 250-5.1-F1 of the code at 68 Ashlyn Rise. The property is currently or formerly owned by Jaden Fiorica and is zoned RR-1, SBL number 140.01-8-13. This is application number 22Z-0002.
Okay, anybody here on this application? Come on up.
Do I come up there?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
You want me to sit here?
Sure, sit there and just give us your name and address. We can guess who you are, and then the board will walk you through your applications, and then, feel free to add anything you like when we're done, so.
Okay. I'm Teresa Fiorica, and I reside at 68 Ashlyn Rise, Fairport.
and it is still co-owned with my son, Jaden Fiorica.
Okay. So if I'm understanding correctly, you're here tonight because you folks have constructed a patio in the backyard, and it's closer to the one property line than it's supposed to be.
Yes.
Okay. So, and we also understand that for whatever reason, you didn't get a permit for doing this? Not yet?
Yeah, not yet.
Okay.
There was a lot of it's our first house in Penfield, East Rochester. We didn't really need permits for a lot of stuff that we did, and we did the fence, and we didn't need a permit for the fence, so we just kind
Okay. And by the way, that's being addressed in the court as well, but the court is kind of waiting to see what happens here.
Correct, yes.
All right, okay. So tell us a little bit about the patio. We have, Andy's pulled up the Google Maps, I think that is.
Yep.
But tell us a little bit about the patio, why you built it, what you're using it for, and why it had to be in that location.
So the way that the backyard is set up, there's a hill beyond where it's flat. We did an in-ground pool, and we had the concrete go around, so it takes up basically the whole flat surface of our backyard. My son is handicapped. He's in a wheelchair, 24/7 in a wheelchair. So we wanted to make the backyard usable for him for his OT, his PT. He does his swim therapy back there. He does wheelchair basketball. So we just kind of use the whole property as his playground, since he has to be in a wheelchair all the time. We do have a ramp in our garage, like a lift, like a elevator, so to speak. And so we use that to get him in and out of the house, and then we go through the garage, through the side where the patio starts, to bring him into the backyard, so he has access to be entertained and be with the family and have fun in the backyard and do what he can with what he's able to do. So we just wanted to have full access, to what we have access to. So we just wanted to make it functional for him to be able to get around and use all of his equipment. He has a motorized wheelchair, a manual wheelchair, a walker, just all his activities get done outside.
Okay, so,
nice out.
Much easier to use that motorized wheelchair on.
It's really hard to push a wheelchair through grass.
Okay. All right. So let me just ask you, why did you have to, or did you have to build it that close to the property line?
The way that the property is set up, it would have, honestly, I didn't know about the 10-foot variance when we did it, because the people that did the pool, we extended it, with the concrete to have them all do it all at once. Our fence goes to the property line, so the way that the property line is, it just kind of lines up with the gate of the fence, so it opens up, so that we can fit all his equipment through it. It's 2 4-foot gates that open up for an 8-foot. So we just kind of lined it up with that, so it's like a straight path, so we have full access. If we didn't do it that way, then it would have been like grass patches. It just wouldn't have looked nice. I mean, it's a beautiful backyard, but we did do it.
Yes.
And it's functional for him.
Okay. And if the board were to deny the application and you had to remove this, do you have any idea how much that would cost you?
Probably a lot.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that's true. Do you mind saying how much it costs to install it?
$18,000 for the concrete patio.
All right. So there are some other issues that we've heard from neighbors, and I don't know that they're necessarily germane to the application, but I do, because of what I said before about people being able to comment, I think we should just address them briefly in any event. By the way, let me get back to the patio. The neighbor on the same side as the patio.
Yes, Miss Ann.
That would be the neighbor that would be, at least in my mind, most affected by the granting of the variance.
Yes, and they're fine with all of it.
That's what I wanted to ask you. You had a conversation with them and told them, obviously, they know what's happening.
Yeah, well, the patio's been done for 2 years now.
Right, right.
And so they use our backyard.
Good, okay. That's important to know. The neighbor on the other side, I know there was a concern about drainage or backwashing the pool onto the property, whatever it was. It'd be great if if there was backwashing done, it would be great if that didn't happen anymore.
Backwash doesn't get done that way. It goes down our downspout.
Okay?
We have the tube hooked up so that it doesn't flood what's left of the grass, because it is a hill back there. The engineer from the town has been to the house, and we are working with them. He said everything looks good, like it's supposed to. The only thing that they are requesting, which is the next step once we meet with the engineer, is that he wants us to make basically like a notarized letter to go attached to the deed saying that we are responsible, because we did do a natural French drain for the water drainage, because there is a natural swale through the properties of the whole neighborhood. And we enclosed that so that we could have more flat for my son, and we put a natural French drain in there so that the water drains underground. And the engineer does say that everything looks good. He just wants us to have like a notarized note attached to the deed saying that we are responsible for any type of backage, anything that backs up, cloggage, things like that, that will continue on to the next owner if we ever do decide to move.
Okay.
And we are agreeing with that.
And is that something that is going to have to await the melting the snow and the better weather to do? Or
To finalize all
Yeah.
that, I believe the engineer needs to come back and just look at it, but he did look at everything already before the snow all hit. This was like 2 months ago he was back there, and everything
Okay.
looks good from what he was able to see. I was not there for that meeting, unfortunately. I was at work. My husband was there with him.
Okay.
But that is like the next step to, I don't know how that letter, I think he has to write that letter up, and then we have to sign it and legalize it and attach it to wherever the documents go for the deeds.
Would you have any problem with if this board granting the variance put on a condition on that you comply with the town engineers, as you've said that you would?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
The court has been moved. It's waiting for them to, once they get the approval of the variance, they're just going to adjourn everything and dismiss the whole, no permit thing that's
Right.
going on in court right now. So that's the only thing that's lingering with the whole court before
Yeah,
they.
we figured as much.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the last comment that I had is we did receive an email. We were trying to get clarification of it, but there was a concern expressed from another neighbor down the way a bit, to be honest, about the noise associated with, I'm just trying to pull it up to see if it was with the use of the patio or the pool or both. And honestly, I looked at that and I'm like, well, what noise? Was it noise from a pump? You have a heater on the pool?
Yep.
A heater, or was it honestly noise from socialization?
I'm not going to lie, it's probably socialization, but we
Okay,
try to
okay.
limit that, to, on the, during summer nights till,
Yeah.
Everyone's at the pool by
Right.
10:30.
And there are noise ordinance rules, I
Yeah,
suppose, so.
we've never had the cops come for noise.
Okay, well, just kind of keep
But we
that
do
in
like to,
mind.
we do like to entertain.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
We have a nice backyard to be able to do so, and
Right.
the kids
But
like
just-
to have their
just
friends over.
Keep in mind, somebody was moved enough to send that note in, so it's
Yeah.
whatever we can then be
Our
done
neighbors
to-
are all welcome to come enjoy the pool.
Okay, all right. I don't have any further questions. Any other questions from board members?
No.
No? Anybody in the audience care to speak about this application? And I don't think we have any electronic comments, unless I'm mistaken. They took away my keyboard for whatever reason, so I can't click on that. But no phone calls or no submissions? Oh, okay. All right. Well, then we will move forward with consideration of this application. The first thing we have to address is the environmental review. I would make a motion that this be considered a type 2 action under the state law, requiring no further environmental review.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a seeker motion, type 2, with a second. Any further discussion? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
And on the merits of the application, I would make a motion to approve. I certainly recognize the issues with this particular application. I think the applicant has been very candid and upfront about things that have happened here. It's not the first time we've had somebody move from one town to another and not realize about code requirements, but I'm assuming that we have a lesson learned here and anything
yes.
more in the future. We will at least contact the town to see what we need to do.
No question is a dumb question. I will call for everything.
There you go. There you go. We're going to put in a condition that there is compliance on the property with the town engineer as discussed by the applicant, and the applicant has heard us talk about being good neighbors, everyone being good neighbors, and contributing to the quality of the neighborhood, let's put that. So that's my motion.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion to approve in a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. Okay, good luck.
Thank you. So what do I get something or like a paper or what do I
Not
do?
from us, probably from Andy or Christine.
Okay. I just didn't know if I had to bring something back to the court or something.
Probably not tomorrow, but you'll get it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
When's the court?
I think it's Wednesday, maybe?
You got some time then, but,
I think, I'll have to double check. I own my own business, so I'm working every day. My
yeah, if
husband's
there's
the one
an
that's been
issue,
going to the court.
call these folks and they'll make sure that you get what you
I
need.
think our attorney might end up calling to ask for it, maybe. I don't know.
I can give you a call tomorrow if that's okay. and we
Yeah,
can-
that's fine.
All right.
All right.
That's all you had to say is your attorney will call and see how he does.
They told us we had to hire one. I don't know. All right,
Okay,
thank you. Am I good to go?
you're good to go.
Thanks. Have a good evening.
Bye-bye. Okay, let's go back to number one. Anybody here on number one? The Exxon gas station? No. Okay, let's go to 3 then.
Brandon and Nicolina Bellinger, 14 Corral Drive, Penfield, New York, 14526. Request area variances under Section 250-14.3 of the code to allow a swimming pool appurtenance with less side setbacks than required under Section 250-5.1-F1 of the code at 14 Corral Drive. The property is currently or formerly owned by Brandon and Nicolina Bellinger? Bellinger, sorry.
That's okay.
And is zoned R-1-20, SBL number 109.10-1-34, application number 22Z-0003.
Okay, before we start, I'll just remind anybody out there watching that if you have any comment about any application, you can call 340-8771 or submit a question or comment electronically through penfield.org. All right, if you folks could introduce yourselves, and then we'll get walking you through the application.
Yep, so Brandon and Nicolina Bellinger, 14 Corral Drive.
All right, thanks.
Good evening. So I just have a few questions. It was a fairly thorough application. So have you spoken to any of your neighbors about your application?
Yes.
And are any of them opposed to it?
Not that was expressed to us. No.
And you have, it's up on the screen now, an odd-shaped or
Yes,
different
we
shaped lot. No offense. It's beautiful.
Painful.
It's beautiful.
It's painful. It's okay.
But it's really, there's only a handful of feet of it that are going to be with it, that you need this variance for. There's part of the pool that's going to be within code, and then part of it that's
Correct.
not.
Right.
And it's because of the shape of your.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Now, I'm a man who knows not much about pools, but is 18 foot by 36 foot, is that a typical size? Is that a standard size pool?
So it's a pretty standard sized pool. And what they were telling us with the length of it is we already actually went more shallow than we were originally thinking. Apparently there's a certain gradient that they have to keep. So if we were to make it shorter than that, the shallow end that we would have is pretty limited.
Okay.
And we have younger kids, so obviously we would like, as much shallow end as we can get.
Sure. And so really a smaller pool, although possible, isn't exactly what you're looking to do?
Correct, and even if we did, a smaller pool, I think maybe 16, or not 16, that's the width. If we were to go a little bit smaller, we would still end up needing a variance anyways.
The back, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's a pool to the neighbor next to you, correct?
Behind.
Behind?
Yep.
Yeah, I can see that. And there's several other pools in that neighborhood.
Yes.
Okay. And are you putting a fence up?
Yes,
Yes.
we are.
And is it going to be like a solid fence, or
A
is it?
vinyl fence around the entire backyard, yep.
No further questions.
Okay, any other questions from the board?
No.
Nope. Anyone in the audience care to speak about this application? I haven't heard that there's any call-ins or electronic submissions. So let's proceed with consideration.
All right, first for seeker, I would make a motion to declare this a type 2 action requiring no further review.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Matt on seeker and a second by Andres. Type 2 action, which requires no further review. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
So for the merits, I would move to approve it. It's a pool, and really, very little of it is going to be within the variance being requested. A majority of it will be within that 10-foot setback. So there's going to be no undesirable change to the neighborhood. They could have a smaller pool, so it could be achieved in some other way, but I get what they're saying with the shallow end and wanting as much shallow end as possible. It's, again, is it substantial? Yes, it's a 50% reduction, but it's really only a small portion of it. It's not going to, from my perspective, have an adverse effect on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood. And it's self-created, but I think that all the other factors outweigh that, so I'm not giving that much credit.
All right.
So I move to approve.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion to approve for the reasons stated by Matt and a second by Andres. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No one. Unanimous. Great. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Go ahead with the next one there, Andy.
Okay. Gretchen and Michael Bomber, 64 Maple Hill Farm Road, Penfield, New York, 14526. Request area variances under section 250-14.3 of the code to allow a shed with less side setback than required under section 250-5.1-F1 of the code, and less rear setback than required under section 250-5.1-F12B of the code at 64 Maple Hill Farm Road. The property is currently or formerly owned by Gretchen Bomber and is zoned R-1-20, SBL number 124.16-1-78. This is application number 22Z-0004.
Okay, anybody here on this application? Come on up. Just give us your name and address, and we'll walk you through it.
Thank you.
Sure.
My name is Gretchen Balmer, and my address is 64 Maple Hill Farm Road.
Thank you.
Hold on a second, Andres. Can we have folks, if they choose, take the mask off when they want to talk?
Yeah, you can, if you're comfortable, you can take it off.
Totally up to you.
No.
Okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry, Andres.
That's fine. So let's see. You are looking for a variance for a shed in your rear yard. And it looks like in your application, you cited that your neighbor directly to the east received a variance from this board. Actually, back in 2011, they did. So we granted your neighbor a variance for a 5-foot rear and a 5-foot side setback to put a shed. And it looks like you're looking to mirror where that shed is in your yard, in a sense, for aesthetic purposes. So they kind of complement each other and they go together.
That's correct.
Okay.
Also because we have a large tree on the back left-hand side of the property.
Yep, and that tree prevents the shed from going where?
On the other back side of the yard.
Right, so
Or
in a
somewhere
sense,
else.
you wouldn't be able to pull it from the rear yard closer because of the tree blocking that area. And then the only other alternatives to put the shed are primarily then in the very center of your yard?
Correct.
Okay. And that is not desirable?
That's not desirable, because
Okay.
we do enjoy the backyard. We have a family in.
Okay. Any issues with drainage to the back then, if the shed was that much closer? Do you know if your neighbors had any problems back there?
I'm not aware of any issues that we've had with drainage
Okay.
in our yard or in the neighbor's yard.
Okay. Andy, I know in the last resolution, the town engineer, I think, or parks person went back and checked that property back there that the town owns in the back and didn't find any issues then. Should we assume that that's the same case now because the land hasn't changed?
Yeah, I don't think there've been any changes that would change their view of it.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. And so, and since the tree's impeding the rear setback, and then the side setback, I think you're asking for 6 feet. Your neighbor asked for 5. Would that complement better if you guys each had the same amount where you did 5 rather than 6? Or I guess why 6 and not 5 to mirror? Because I know in your application you referenced your neighbors, that you want to be the same as theirs.
Why 6 and not 5? I think it's because we have a hedgerow sort of in between,
Okay.
and that, has some distance on the side.
So it's just the
just
growth coming over?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So to allow that growth to continue.
Okay. Any kind of illumination or lights in the back that would, from, on the shed?
No.
Okay. And then the color of the shed, that's going to complement the home, or is that?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the color of the shed, I think at this point is TBD, but certainly would complement the home.
Sure, sure. And then I believe your neighbor to the east also sent a letter and had no issues with that as well.
Yes, that's correct.
That's all I have.
Any other questions from the board? I would just note that one of the reasons why there are setback requirements for sheds so that they can be properly maintained.
Sure.
Do you think that if you grant this variance, you're going to be able to maintain the shed and not interfere with your neighbor's maintenance of his shed?
Yes, absolutely. I don't think we'll have any issue with maintaining our shed. He doesn't have any issue maintaining his shed.
Okay, good. Anyone in the audience care to speak about this? Once again, I don't see any call-ins or electronic submissions, so let's proceed with consideration.
Okay, I will move this as a type 2 action, not subject to further seeker review.
Second? Okay, so motion by Andres to declare it a type 2 action. I have seconded that. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, the merits?
Okay, so with merits, in a sense, the way it's going to be with the neighborhood, there will be no undesirable change that we're able to find. It doesn't look like there'd be any detriment to any of the neighboring properties. The neighbor that actually supported this has the same variance. The shed's going to be less than 10 feet from their shed, so it's going to be in that corner where it won't be in a sense, if it was a visual problem, it would already be occurring with the neighbor's shed on their site. There were no environmental impacts identified. And while the variance is substantial, it is in keeping with what the neighbor has as well that we've already granted.
Right. I would just add, I think there were sufficient reasons as to why and you've already alluded to some why it needs to go in that spot as opposed to other areas of the yard. Okay, so we have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor? Aye. Nobody opposed. Okay, great.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
You too.
Who seconded that one? New guy.
George. All right, we can go to still nobody here on number 1? I didn't see anybody walk in, so, although I'm prone to miss stuff like that. Number 5, or 6, I guess it is.
5.
5. It is. See what I mean?
I'm going to try to skip right over yours.
David Garitano, 3825 Atlantic Avenue, Fairport, New York, 14450. Request an area variance under section 250-14.3 of the code to allow a larger detached garage than permitted under section 250-2.2 of the code at 3825 Atlantic Avenue. The property is currently or formerly owned by David Garitano and is zoned RA-2, SBL number 111.03-1-16. This is application number 22Z-0005.
Okay, if you could, again, give us your name and address, just for the record.
Yes, I'm Dave Garitano, and I own 3825 Atlantic Ave.
All right, so the first thing that I guess I'd like to point out is you have something pending as well with the planning board. And what's the status of that?
I still need to get with an engineer to do a site analysis so that I can then move forward with the planning board in regards to a parking lot that we installed.
Okay. One of the reasons I asked that is just so everybody's aware, but also it's likely that we're going to table this matter pending further action by planning board, and I don't want you to
Sure.
be surprised by that. I figured let's start right off by telling that. So why don't you go ahead and tell us what your plan is here and why you need to do what you're requesting, and what your support is for your application for us to approve it.
Okay. I mean, right now, we're looking to build a 32 by 40 detached garage. The property currently has a small barn, and then we can't park our trucks inside the barn because of the height of the second floor, and then also there's a single car driveway. And we acquired the property in December of last year, and we've been trying to clean it up, and we just, one of the things that we'd like to add to it would be this detached garage.
Okay. And what is the size of the residence on the property? Approximate.
Approximately 1,050 square feet.
Okay, so you're proposing a garage total area with a porch of about 1,600 square feet.
Correct.
And so we have a rule that, trying to sum it up here, is that the accessory structure is not supposed to dominate the primary structure. Kind of, you might say, what does that mean? Fair question. The way I look at that, and we'll certainly talk about it, is it just can't be like way bigger than, or if you look at it, you see it, and you say, oh my God, oh, there's a house there too. So this one, if my math is right, we're talking about something that's about 50% bigger, 1.5 times the size of the house. The math is what the math is. So I guess if you could get a little bit more specific about why you need it to be that much larger than the house.
A couple things. I mean, just the layout of the lot and the property. I think if I was to go with something smaller or 1,000 square feet, it would look like it almost would look too small given the size of that side yard. And the second thing is, I wouldn't want to build a garage and then not be able, and put the money into it and not be able to fit a camper or a boat or in our personal vehicles into it.
Okay, tell me a little bit about the open porch. What is that, and why is it necessary? Because it adds some square footage, so.
It's not necessary at all. I mean, it was just something that we wanted to add to the building to give it more of a residential feel, make it look, less like just a square garage. We thought it'd be more, cosmetically appealing to the property, but it's certainly not something that I need.
Okay, so if you were to remove that from the plans, then that would result in you requesting a reduced variance. Okay, so because it's going to be tabled, I guess I'd ask you to give that some consideration in the interim between meetings. Are you willing to do that? This board is required, actually, to, when granting variances, to grant the smallest one that would allow the project to proceed. So you could debate what exactly that means, but I'd ask you to consider that. And if you're willing to do that, just let Andy know prior to the next meeting, and we'll modify the application accordingly. But if you're like, hey, I want that, that's okay too, and we'll make our ruling based upon that. I don't want you to think I'm twisting your arm one way or another, or that it won't get granted if you don't do that. I don't want you to think that.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm good for now with questions. Anybody have any questions of the applicant?
What are you planning on storing in there?
Just their personal vehicles and most likely a camper.
So you built a parking lot, you said there?
So that area on the lot was a very low area. I mean, the whole side lot had low areas. There's an existing drainage ditch coming off the properties to the east, and it just, it dumped all the runoff onto this, the back and side areas of our lot, and in the front there, it just pooled water for the longest time. So I wanted to build that up and get that out so that it wasn't such, so there wasn't mosquitoes and bad water, just stagnant there. So we turned it into, we built it up and we added a parking lot. And in addition to that, that also created an option for us backing out onto Atlantic Avenue from our driveway. We've got the big concrete trucks and Dolomite, they come around that bend right there, and backing out from our driveway isn't always the easiest, especially with our relatives coming over and whatnot. So by having that parking lot now, we can, anyone that comes over, and ourselves included, can pull into the parking lot and exit, driving forward back onto Atlantic Ave instead of trying to back out.
Who's going to be building this for you?
We were gonna, subcontract. Was it Joe and? What was it? Tony and Joe Construction.
So are you in the construction business?
I am, but I have nothing to do with.
So
Tony
you
and
know
Joe.
that if this is granted, then you're not going to be able to use it to store your company equipment or trucks or things like that?
I don't have a company, I don't have a business,
Okay.
and I fully understand that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thanks, Matt. Okay, any other questions from the board? No? Again, I don't, well, my screen just went blank, so I'm assuming that we don't have any phone calls or electronic submissions, so, okay, thanks. And then, Pete, we hold off on the seeker until we're ready to decide, so just
do
make a
that.
motion to table?
You could do that, yeah.
Okay. Well, then I will make a motion to table for the reasons stated. Again, consider that. Let these folks know prior to the next meeting, and then just keep us posted on what's happening with the planning board.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to table to the February meeting with a second. Any further discussion on that motion? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
You any relation to Mike Garitano?
Maybe distant relation.
Okay. He was a camp counselor I had when I was young, Andy. I thought it was an unusual name. He was a great guy. If he's your relative, good for you, because he was a lot of fun back then. And he never ratted us out, which was important. He could have. He had a lot of stuff to rat out on. Whatever. The statute of limitations is long run. Anyways. All right, so we're good. We'll see you next month.
Great, thank you.
It was second by Andres.
I did second it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, moving right along. Next application is 6.
There's still nobody here for number 1 either, Dan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Always helpful. I'm not number 1. Well,
Marco Viola, 2171 Carter Road, Fairport, New York, 14450. Request an area variance under Section 250-14.3 of the code to allow a second garage, whereas a maximum of 1 garage is allowed under Section 250-5.1-D2 of the code at 2171 Carter Road. The property is currently or formerly owned by Marco and Irene Viola and is zoned RR-1. SBL number 140.02-1-25.15. This is application number 22Z-0006.
okay, why don't you go ahead and give us your name and address, and we'll walk you through.
Yeah, appreciate it. Marco Viola, 2171 Carter Road in Fairport, New York. Before that, I moved in there July 9th of 2021. Before that, I lived about 18 years at 24 Scarborough Park in Penfield, New York. And I don't know how back you want me to go, but originally I'm from Niagara Falls, Buffalo. But so all my kids, I have a daughter, a sophomore at Penfield High School, 2 in college right now, and then they all grew up in the Penfield area.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So you want to build a big garage?
It's a 42 by 64 pole barn, and it's to store classic cars. I currently have 4 classic cars that I want to store in the building. Correct.
And as part of your application, you're going to knock down an existing 500 square foot building, garage, shed? I'm not sure how you want to call it, but.
Outbuilding, correct, that was on the property. Yep.
And you have another approximately 200 square foot storage building that you would like to remain?
Correct, yes.
Why can't you knock that down as well?
Well, the one building I want to tear down is in the way of the new structure that I want to put up. So, and it's unsightly. It's old, it has plexiglass windows, so I want that to be removed. The other outbuilding, the shed, is relatively new. And when I closed on the property on July 9th of 2021, the survey was done, and I have a copy of the survey, but I found out through Andy that it was never permitted. And it's a new structure that I'd like to keep because it does have shelving, and it's good for lawn equipment, garden equipment. I would like to keep that structure.
And you couldn't keep that equipment in the new pole barn?
I could, but the shelving that I have in that one shed would be valuable to me. The cars that I store, that I want to store in this new structure, and that's one of the reasons why I moved to the 5.5 acres on Carter Road, so I could put up a structure to store my cars. At the time, I had 2, now I have 3, and probably I'll have, if my wife lets me, I'll have another car. There's other cars that I want, but, and you know, if you know car enthusiasts, we're fanatics, heat, they stay warm, you know, they stay dry. I wouldn't want to put any of the garden equipment around those cars.
So where do you currently store your cars?
Oh, goodness. So I have storage. 2 of the cars are in my current garage. That's a two-car garage on my property attached. And then I have another car that's stored off my property at a storage that I'm paying for.
Are there any other pole barns in the area?
There is. Yeah, there's several on my block.
How big is your house? How many square feet is your house?
It's almost 3,300 square feet.
Okay, so this is not bigger than your house?
It is not. And there's a few things that I'm doing to make sure that it doesn't overwhelm my house. I went with a 412 roof instead of a 612, so it's going to be less than 20 feet high at the highest peak. And then also I'm using, the only metal that's going to be on the pole barn is the roof. I'm going with a hardy board around the exterior that's going to match my house. And Andy, do you have that one picture of my house? It's an aerial view. You might be able to zone in on it. But my house has, the original house is plank siding, and then there's addition that used hardy board. Hardy board is a composite made of concrete to simulate a plank siding. I'm going to do the same thing on the pole barn so it matches my house. The windows will match my house. So aesthetically, it will be appealing, and it will not. That's the last thing I wanted to do, is to overwhelm my property or my residence.
And are you going to have any lights or illuminate it at all?
In front of each garage door, I have 3 bays, 3 garage doors that I plan on having. Morton Buildings is right now the manufacturer. One of the things, just to take a step back, is that when I got into the house, I had a lot on my plate, but I originally went to Parenton, and I researched their requirements for building, and I thought I was good, and then when I called Parenton and said, okay, I'm ready with some plans, they contacted me and said, no, you're still in Penfield, and that was my mistake. But, so I've been contracted with, I've already given a down payment down to Morton Buildings, that's a national firm. So they have the plans, I have stamp plans, and you're looking at them right now, those are the stamp plans, and I have all the insulation and our codes. But there will be lighting, 1 light above each bay, the 3 garage doors that I have, and those garage doors are 10 feet wide by 8 feet tall, and then I plan to have 1 to the side of the pass-through door on the left-hand side.
Do you have plan to knock the lighting down? So it's doesn't go out into the stratosphere. of other
Correct, yeah.
neighbors and-
It's going to be like an old-fashioned barn-type light with a lid over the top, shooting down over each bay, and including the pass-through door on the left-hand
And
side.
speaking of neighbors, have you spoken to any neighbors about this application?
I have, yeah, my neighbor to my north and my south, so bordering my property, and they're fine with it. Pam and Dwight Booth to the north of me, and then Gary and Rachel Goki to the south of me.
And everybody's okay with it?
They are. Those two neighbors are, correct.
Is anybody opposed to it?
Not that I know of.
And do you intend to use this for any commercial reasons, or
Absolutely
you
not.
understand that if it's granted, then it's going to be conditioned that it's not be used for commercial reasons?
No, I don't even work too much on cars. I clean them, that's about it. So it's for storage only.
Now, it is large. Is there any reason that you can't make it any smaller?
Those are the plans that I had, if I have to, but again, it's the reason why I moved from 24 Scarborough Park to here, is to put up this barn. That was the size that I originally had planned.
So at some point
And that's
you plan-
before, I'm sorry,
Do you plan on purchasing like more cars that you would want more?
I do, correct, yeah.
And it's fair to say that this would be pretty hidden from the road. You live in
Yeah, it's a
wooded
hidden
lot.
Correct. It's a hidden driveway, and I do have one picture that I submitted that shows the front of my, there it is, right there. So in full bloom in the summertime, you cannot see my house or the structure that I plan to put up. And in the wintertime, you can vaguely see, through the lights a little bit, through the trees, but yeah, you will not be able to see the structure.
I have nothing further.
Any questions from the board? Any other ones? No, just, Matt, you hit on all the key points, I think. Just to reiterate, when we have an application like this, to me, at least, one of the real important things are, where are you located in the town and what's around you? And, as I said, Matt asked a lot of the questions relating to the character of the neighborhood. And, will granting the variance change the character of the neighborhood? Or will granting it allow the property to, look like others in the neighborhood? And you've presented, I think, some pretty compelling proof in that regard. So I don't have any more questions or comments. I don't see that anything has been submitted. So I think we can proceed with considering the application.
All right, so as far as seeker, I would move to declare this a type 2 action, requiring no further review.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the seeker and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, to the merits.
So first, I think that I'd like to point out that I spoke to Andy earlier today, and he lifted a lobe of his brain and recalled that back in September of 2020, we granted an application for a second garage in East Penfield that the square footage, it is almost an identical application. It would have been the third building on the property. The square footage of the new building was smaller than this, but it already had a building on it that was well over 2,000 square feet. So I'm taking that into consideration as well when I move to approve this. I don't see this as an undesirable change to the neighborhood. It sounds as though the applicant's doing everything in his power to make sure that it blends in. The relief sought, the benefit sought could be done another way. He's currently renting out space for a car and has two cars in another bar or garage that he's going to be knocking down. But I also understand wanting all of his cars right there and potentially purchasing more cars and having space and not wanting to come back for another variance or yet another building. It's a second garage, so it's substantial because it's twice as many garages as is allowed by code. But I don't see it as having a adverse effect on or impact on the physical or environmental neighborhood. And it's certainly self-created, but I'm weighing that against everything else. I would say that I think that I would condition this upon, and I know it's typically a condition, that it not be used for any commercial purposes. And I would condition this on him being required to actually tear down that 500 square foot garage that's already there. So I would move to approve this application on those conditions.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve, a very thorough and thoughtful motion to approve, and a thoughtful second as well. I might add. So any further discussion on the motion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No? Okay. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good job maintaining the property, and we'll, confident you'll continue to do that. Good.
I will. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Have a good night. We're going to go back to number one. I have consulted with council, and we can, if the board is okay with this, consider that the applicant has waived its right to actually be here and present, so we can kind of run through the application, see if there's any comments. Good night. And if they're not, we can proceed if everyone's comfortable with doing that,
Yeah, I would,
rather than table it.
yep.
So what do you, Andy, you want to just describe, are you okay with Andy describing the application?
Yeah, or he's got to announce it or whatever he wants to do.
Yeah, announce it and then just describe it. It's kind of a mundane application, to be honest with you.
I can describe it too if you want.
Good.
I've been waiting all day for
Go
it.
ahead. By the way, I did want to note, I'm glad that you said that Mike Belgiorno, who was prior board member that has left, Mike used to serve as the vice chair of this board when I was unable to be here, and I've asked Andres to assume that role, and he has, I think, said yes.
I think I did.
Good.
Yeah.
So just so everybody knows that.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a huge increase in the salary.
Yeah.
I'm glad you laughed.
All right, shall I announce the application?
Only if
Please.
council, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if he, does he have to?
Yeah, I think you should, for the purpose of the record.
Total Image Solutions, 196 Theater Road, South Hill, Virginia, 23970, on behalf of Joe's Quick Marts LLC, requests approval for a conditional use under Section 250-13.3 and Section 250-5.7-C2 of the code to allow the continued operation of an existing gasoline service station, convenience store by a new operator at 1910 Empire Boulevard. The property is currently or formerly owned by Joe's Quick Marts LLC and is zoned general business, SBL number 093.02-1-21. This is application number 22Z-0001.
Okay, I'll just ask again, is there anybody here on this application to present in person? Again, we have a thorough written application. I would note that, Andy, you sent an email to the applicant about what the written application should contain, and I think they followed your advice there. So, again, we don't have to require a personal appearance. Or we can, but we can also waive that. So Andres will describe what's being requested and what the intent here to use the property, and we can proceed.
Yep, perfect. Well, currently it is a service station and convenience store. And it's what we have is now is a change of ownership. And so what's happening is the new owner has to apply. The town requires new owners to come to the board and say, you know, I want to operate this business. They're operating this business. It's going to be an Exxon going forward. And from my understanding, everything's going to stay the same. They're not proposing to change anything with the driveways coming in and out. So sight lines, things like that shouldn't change. The signage is going to be changing to just a new name from the current name. It's going to just now change to Exxon. So we're going to see those changes. I think it's a Speedway now, something like that.
It is a Speedway now.
Speedway.
Yeah.
So in a sense, maybe the signs might be smaller because the Exxon has less letters than Speedway. Maybe, I don't know. But we'll.
They're already up, I think. The Exxon signs are already up.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I drove by, again, you guys know I don't live far from there, and I drove by, and I'm pretty sure that they're, yeah.
So the signs will be changing to Exxon
Yep.
if they haven't very recently. No other things that we see are changing. The hours of operation, I didn't see anything changing with those. And I assume the applicant will realize they still have to follow the building and fire codes going forward. Haven't heard of any issues with the property in terms of complaints to the town. If everything stays operating as it is, the noise level should remain unchanged. And as far as we know, the egress and ingress is not changing at the property either.
Right. We have some prior approval resolutions.
There was one last time it was in 14, like probably 8-9 years
That's
ago.
probably when it went from Hess to Speedway. So, I think we can, to the extent you want to mirror that, we can mirror that. My only complaint is that the air hose, they charge you for it. They charge you for it, and it's not always working, but lately it has been.
You want that part of the resolution?
Yeah, that it's,
So
when
they have
I
a
go
working-
there to use it, that it
working air
must
hose?
work.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah. Okay, I didn't mean to cut
that's
you
fine. No,
off.
I think we've covered it all.
Okay, and whatever signs are there are going to be done within code,
Within
et cetera,
code,
et
correct.
cetera. Okay. So we don't have any comments. There's nobody here, but I'll ask, anybody care to speak about this? All right. Well, then let's proceed with consideration.
Well, it's a type 2 action, not subject to further review under seeker.
I will second that. Any further discussion on the seeker? All those in favor? Aye.
And I will move to approve this application. I think we go back and look at, as Dan said, the 2014 approval. It's going to be very similar to this one. And the applicants, there was nothing that stuck out that was different from operations from what it's currently doing. So with that, I'll move to approve.
I will second this, and I will just say that if for whatever reason, it looks like this is going to be approved, but if the applicant wants to come back and
Modify?
for some reason.
Say they're sorry for not coming.
Yeah, well, yes, that would be nice, but hey, I guess it didn't hurt us, so. In any event, we have a motion to approve with all those reasons and conditions as stated, and we have a second, right? I seconded. Any further discussion? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Nobody opposed. Okay, and again, there weren't any comments on it, so everybody had a fair opportunity. So I think that's it. That was the last application. Pretty efficient as always, and we have the next meeting in February. We have a couple tabled already, one that we tabled tonight and one that, well, two that we tabled tonight, but one was continuing. So thank you very much, good work, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you.